What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks, and we back in the building. You feel me? It's True Talks, cause True Talks. All right, let's get straight right into it. So you already know. Obviously, last night was definitely it was bitter. It was not a great night, man. Everything just changed like that, man. Everything changed like that. Everyone who's been waiting for this moment obviously came out the woodworks. They've been silent this whole time after they've been seeing an onslaught. You know what I'm saying? And then now obviously, and you know me, it's not even just significant to the Nets, but you know me, I've been saying always I hate injuries. Even when Braun went down, AD went down, the list goes on. Even when CP3 first was injured, Jamal Murray went down. Who else? There's a plethora of people, like, bro, it just the list goes on. You know what I'm saying? The list goes on. Harden went down, came back. Now Kyrie went down. Like it's been a weird year, right? It's been a weird year, and obviously it wouldn't do justice if it wasn't another injury. Obviously, right? It's on cue. So, and obviously for one of the teams that have been seen and been expected to obviously make it to the finals, right? And it would be the Nets, and you know a lot of people obviously they've been coming for me. Oh, if KD's that guy, he's got to care, and all this type of stuff. And I'm gonna talk about a lot of narratives that have been thrown out there since what, not even 24 hours or whatever. And I'm gonna talk about that, debunking majority of them, obviously, because that's what I have to do. People put me in that position because it's obviously I don't have to say nothing, but I just can't be hearing cap and just let it rock. You know what I'm saying? That's what I've been about. I'm passionate about the game. And, it's about being authentic to the game. So once I hear cap, I just got to debunk that shit always. So, regardless if it's, doesn't matter who. So that's what I try to do. If it has enough, I guess, hoopla, that's when I try to debunk it, right? When the masses are saying it, that's what I do. So, obviously I'm going to go into that. But we're going to talk about, obviously, what happened with the game, which I talk about somewhat with the injury. But we're going to talk about, where this series goes from here as the Bucks tied it up 2-2. Obviously mainly due to Kyrie, injuring his ankle. So let's go into that context, because I give it that context. Let's go straight right into it, boy. So again, obviously, last night was, the Bucks again. They started out the gate slow again, was missing shots. They weren't shooting the greatest in terms of just shot making and stuff like that, especially their threes. It was the same story. You saw the same signs. Now, even before Kyrie got injured, they did go on a 19-2 run, which did get opened up from Middleton making that tough that and 1-3. It did open up and all of that type of stuff. But then obviously the Nets weathered the storm, and it was a tight game. I think it was only like a 2-point whatever game for the Bucks or something like that. It was below 5 for sure. And then obviously now Kyrie goes down, right, with the ankle injury. Now, let's be real. If this was any other, I promise you, if this was Braun, even if it was KD, but mainly if it was Braun, I don't know any other player, but you already know how the world and how everybody feels about Braun, right? If this was Braun, that he went up for a layup and Giannis slid in, and that's literally what becomes a flagrant foul. That's the reason why it's there, from protecting the shooters from three, right? You slide in. You slide in under. It's not a natural closeout movement. It's unnecessary, especially in the paint. It's like if he jumped to block the shot, then he just landed on his foot, or he was standing there already and he's looking at the rim, but you slid in. That's where the issue is. You slid in to do nothing. Any double clutch. It's not like you slid in to block it. You slid in to do nothing as a taller guy. Normally a taller guy is going to either jump to block it, or, like, he didn't box him out. He literally just slid in. So that's where the issue lies, right? And I'm going to talk about the tough things, right? You know me. But that's where the issue lies. And I know because Giannis obviously is, and I like Giannis too. He's a high character guy. He's a funny guy, you know what I'm saying? He has that mind where he's going to grind, where he made it from Greece all the way to here, right? So, he don't play. He's gonna, continue to try. It's the same thing with the 3-pointers. He's not gonna, just give in that I can't do this. He's gonna try, and I always rate that. As much as people say don't shoot the threes and all this, whatever they're saying, like I rate the guy that's gonna try, and try to get better, and even try it in high pressure moments. That means you're not afraid. You might miss, your skill isn't there, right? And it's, it's not the same, obviously, confidence or whatever, but at the end of the day, he's trying. He's not just succumbing to, I can't do this, let me do something else, right? Because the way you're going to move into something else is obviously going to be, it's not going to be the same too. It's going to be dictated. It's going to change because you're confident. If you're not confident from your shot, you're most likely not going to be confident throughout the whole game anyways. The game is 90% mental. So, I do rate the fact that he continues to try. I rate that he tries a post fade. I rate that he tries these things in playoff games, in pressure moments. I rate that he tries. Whether he makes it or not is a different story. But I do rate his mentality. I do rate, obviously what he's come from and all that type of stuff. And I think a part of that, he's the happy guy, happy, high character guy that people don't look at it. The masses in general don't look at it as a negative thing. Like there's no uproar. Because I promise you, even if it was the same Giannis, and a part of it is also too because it's Kyrie. If this was the same Giannis and he did that slide under Bron, remember, this is the same thing Zaza did under Kawhi at 3-point line. Unnatural, and that's where they implemented the rule. Why does it not apply to the paint? It should apply to anything. Any ankle turn, I land on your ankle, they have to go see if it's natural in accident movement. It's all accident always, mainly. Sometimes people do it intentional. But most of the times, 8 times out of 10, it is accident, right? But it was an unnatural movement. And I promise you, if that was Braun that landed on Giannis's ankle, you know what I'm saying? I promise you, they're probably going to review that. There's going to be a whole uproar and all that type of stuff. Yes, we get that there's levels to this. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, it's, man's pick and choose. Man's pick and choose. And for something like that, that's not something you pick and choose, right? Stuff like the refs and stuff like that in terms of, like, making judgment calls and, like, politics. Oh, he slapped me. You're going to call a slap for Braun. You're not going to call a slap for this guy. You're going to call a slap for KD, but not call a slap for this guy. That's superstar treatment. And we get that. But Kyrie's of that ilk. He's a superstar. Even if you want to apply it to these flagrant fouls. Kyrie Irving should get that treatment. But then again, they don't like him. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, obviously, it's unfortunate. I'm looking deep into things, obviously. But I promise you, if this was Braun, and it's not a knock against Braun. He deserves the media coverage and all that. He deserves it, obviously, it's Braun. But let's just be real. If it was him, there would have been, Giannis would have been getting death threats, probably. So, let's just be honest, right? About Giannis, right? So, honestly, that's what it came down to, was obviously the ankle injury. And, I do understand that anything happens and injuries are part of basketball. Injuries are part of basketball. And when you saw with the Bucks, especially when that injury happened, now you saw the weight lifted. Because at any time, that's what you see with these shots. And I try to speak about things from a mental aspect that stats don't really portray or display. But if you watch the game with a trained eye, or if you just played the game at a high level, you kind of know what kind of goes in. These unwritten rules and unsaid things that just, what's transpiring, right? It's like experience is the best teacher. So, it's just the hooper's mind. If you understand, when there's like 2 guys like that, that's killing. And then obviously first we go from 3. Harden's not there, whatever. But it doesn't matter. 2 guys are the ones that blew out in 2 straight games. You've seen how Kate even got the game 3, and that's also not another thing too. If they didn't let the Bucks escape with that game, they would be up 3-0 and it would be 3-1. And all you have to do is win 1, right? So maybe get rest and kill time. You never know how long the Philly-Atlanta series goes. And then, Kyrie comes back, whatever. But that's a different discussion. We'll talk about that later. But again, you've seen how they know at any time Kyrie and KD can get elite buckets. And based off that, the role players eat, right? And when you see and you understand the potent and the efficiency at what these guys score and the level of difficulty at which those 2 guys score at all times, the weight is on you in terms of the Bucks. Tell you better hit your shot, right? You better make this contested shot. You better hit this open shot if you get one, right? Because at any time, even if you play elite defense, these guys will demoralize you, right? And that's a looming cloud that is not being said or not being accounted for in terms of, why the Brooklyn Nets defense even looks even more better, because of their offense is kind of just in the back of everyone else's minds, right? as an offensive player, or even when you're defending, right? So, you know, that's something that has to be said. So now when Kyrie's gone now, and it's like, okay, we could actually load up. We could flood KD. We could load up on him, force the guys to get it and get it in one-on-one situations that when they get it, we rotate back, etc., right? It's not the same because you're normally running actions for KD. KD now has to switch back to like 2014 where he's now bringing up the ball handling, and facilitating. But then you add the fact which PJ Tucker is playing physical and the refs aren't calling it, right? There's one thing to play physical, but there's one thing to actually like literally be fouling OD and not be calling it, especially now in Brooklyn when they were calling it, which is why KD was one of the only guys going to the line for the Nets. They were calling it, not every time, but they were calling it. Now it's actually reckless. Man, they're pushing, like, it's reckless, and he's not getting the calls. Like, what I saw was actually reckless, and I knew, I'm like, okay, they have a hidden agenda, obviously, even before Kyrie got out. I'm like, I know what they're trying to do. They want this, like, you have Braun out. The Suns are about to sweep, right? This was even before the Suns swept 3-0. Atlanta, Philly, okay, just people really, this is the main series. This is literally the main series out of all the series. So it's like, you need to push this at least 6-7. You can't have this a sweep or done in 5. Like, it's not going to be a good look. So I already knew out the gate, they're probably going to allow more. They're going to allow more wiggle room. And then now when an injury happens to Kyrie, now you see them at times now start to call it back again. Right, but the game is already at this point is been a surmountable lead. So the refs do these things where now it's like you can't go to them, and now when you look at the overall foul calls, but KD got this amount of fouls. No, it wasn't like the overall game is gonna pan out to where it's like, okay, the refs didn't cap or didn't scheme. But I know how this goes, right? It's like you're manipulating and playing with the momentum. You're manipulating and playing with the game in general by calling different calls later in the last half or the last quarter or the last half of the game when the game is already at a disadvantage for one team. Now you give it back, so now it looks like it's normal. But at the most crucial part of the game, the more impactful and the more momentum changing part of the game, it was more so you're now not calling certain calls you would actually call. Like that's the manipulation of the game. That's what I don't like. I've always not liked this about NBA, how they have the refs have too much power. They control a lot. Like, a lot is dictated by the refs. If you know, right? So I'm not going to blame the refs and say that refs are the reason for the loss because, again, that 19-2 run didn't really have much to do with the refs. Some of it did with the fouls with KD, but, again, the defense, not being on a string, etc., even before Kyrie got injured. Now, it's not like the game was over because it's the same thing we saw in Game 3. It was back and forth. We go up 1 or 2, then you guys are up 5, 6 or whatever, right? So that's the kind of game it was headed down. It felt like it was going to go to a clutch game, but obviously things got changed once the morale lifted from the Kyrie injury. So, and the floodgates happened, right? So obviously the game changed from there. But again, like I said, the Bucks, their momentum, their morale, how they move, because now it's only one guy you have to worry about. Everything changed, and the series literally can change in the blink of an eye. That's why I try to never just act like it's over, even though I did on Twitter say it was a wrap at the beginning, because I'm like, if the Nets come out the gate hitting and going like that, and you're missing, I already know is ready for a blow. We saw that in Game 1 and 2, right? But then the Nets did keep their hand or their foot off the gas, the 19-2 run, whatever. But most of the times, you already know I don't really subscribe to just writing off the series. That's why you don't see me if someone's down 2-0 overreact and act like the series down. Or series over. Only time I say this is over, this shit is over, is like a 3-0 series. Even this Nets series, I didn't say it's over. I said they probably gonna win in 5, but I didn't say it's over or how it's done. Because I know at any moment, that's was always my worry for the Nets was injury. And this one wasn't a self-inflicted injury like, maybe the Harden one or like how Durant had earlier in the season and stuff like that, right? This was an actual injury that Giannis did commit, right? I'm not saying he did on purpose, but he did commit. This was an avoidable injury, right? It was definitely an avoidable injury. That's why it's more upsetting that this injury did happen, because it was an avoidable injury. It's the same thing, even like why you saw how Bron fans felt with the Solomon Hill. That one was definitely an avoidable injury. Obviously, it's like, that one is even more allowable because he's making a play on the ball, he's diving, right? He's not like you know what I mean? He's making a play on the ball, he falls, boom. That's one is even more regular. But the Giannis is like, that's literally it was uncalled for. It's not because it's the Nets or whatever. It is, even if it was a Chris Paul or whoever. That's an uncalled for injury. That slide under in the paint, like, it was hella unnecessary. He could just jump and block the ball, or just try to rebound, or just stand where he was. If he wasn't gonna contest, why slide in until the man, like, you see the man's double click, he's airborne. Why slide in? At worst, you know what mans really do? They don't slide in. What mans normally do to, like, throw off the guy or whatever, what they normally do is this. They just do a little love tap. They do it when mans are shooting. They do it when mans are in the air. That's why sometimes if they do it at the wrong time, you see that little push, hey, and he falls out of bounds or whatever. But mans, most of the time, even when they're going up for dunks, whatever, they do a little, sometimes they push or they hold or they tap you to kind of throw off your mind, right? It's just a love tap. That's what they do. It's like, it's not enough to, like, create a foul, but it's enough to, like, if you're not mentally strong, that little, you go up and you feel it, now it throws you off. That little, it's the same thing on shots. Like, it's just a mental game. It's a mental war that the guy's playing with you, right? It's a little love tap, little subtle things that referees don't ever call that you have to pay attention to, right? They're little, just like this, just a touch, not a push, but a little touch. Sometimes it is a push because they're not paying attention, but sometimes it doesn't, it doesn't overly impede the person to where now they're pushed out of bounds. Sometimes it is if it's the wrong time, like I was saying, but that's something that Giannis, even if he did that, it's like whatever. But to now slide in, like, that's uncalled for, and that's where I'm like, I'm just lurking. I'm just looking who's gonna speak about this, right? Maybe by the time this video comes out, maybe one of the media platforms, that speaks about it. But I did hear Van Gundy and them speak about it, but the refs did nothing, and I know the reporter asked him after the game, about the foul, which I did rate, and obviously he's gonna deflect that and whatever. And it's not like I thought he did it on purpose. It's not to call Giannis a dirty player or nothing like that. But he did an uncalled for play. Like, it was hella unnecessary. So, obviously now let's look at the series. Let's look at what I expect or what could happen and the possibilities. And now and some narrative debunking quickly. I don't want to make this video too long because I am doing other videos as well. But, let me do my due diligence and talk about it, obviously, right? So, the overwhelming thing that's coming out, and it's just funny that you see people literally, KD makes people so mad, and you see this with Bron. It's just players make people so mad, and people try to put me in that boat with Bron, and that's why I try to clear this stuff up all the time. Me talking about Bron has nothing to do with Bron himself. It has everything to do with the fans overboosting, and it's not just Bron. You see it, if even my own Raptors fan base overboosts Lowry. What do I do? And do I say I hate Lowry? People think I hate Lowry. People think I hate Bron. People think I hate X, Y, and Z. It's the fans. I hate cap. That's what I hate. If you want to say I hate something, I hate capology. Cap logic. That's what I hate. Cap logic. Capology. That's what I hate. I hate that. So, obviously man's overboost because they that's who they love or whatever. They say outlandish statements that are way over what the person actually requires, right? So, like, perfect example, people saying Bron is the GOAT, right? I think Bron is top 5, right? But now you're saying he's the GOAT. Now you're disrespecting the other guys. That's what I'm talking about. Like, you're going way too far. That's where now you see me say what I say. Now you see me, you know what I mean? Like, if you just have the eye for the game, like, it's just certain things shouldn't be said. And I know obviously this looks like, and it feels like, and people talk about it as an opinion thing. I don't really think these are opinion things. I think that if you really understand the game with an eye level, this is why you notice all the purists kind of see the things on the same level. Now, some of them may cap and say certain things because, they have hidden agendas in, if you don't upset this fan base and you say great, like, there's this business media game that people play. But off camera, I promise you, most of the purists, people that played the Hoopers, they view the things from the same lens, right? They just might not say it, right? But they view the things from the same lens. So that's why you see certain specific types of people who say the same sentiments. It's not like they talk to each other or whatever. Now they could be, you never know. But it's just you understand the game with a certain level that it's literally black and white. It's literally like, it's literally like, if you understand the game with this eye, you're going to appreciate these certain amount of players. You're going to now have an agenda to, shed light onto these certain players because they get hella overlooked. Like, people view the wrong things as the wrong thing or rate the wrong thing as the wrong thing and the right thing that's actually should be rated. And perfect examples like analytics with mid-range, right? You have a lot of people that just read stats and whatever. There's going to be stat gods. But at the end of the day, the purists The stats don't mean nothing. They just are a bonus. It's mainly about the ability. It's mainly about, okay, what's transpiring, what's happening in the real flow of a game. All of these things that literally the purists pay attention to, right? The people who love ability, who love Arsenal, that understand the game on a higher magnitude with a trained eye, are going to talk and, utter the same sentiments. And that's why they don't even need to speak to each other. They're going to they're going to sound like each other. They're going to say things that are similar. All that type of stuff. They're going to view to say, have their same probably type of list in terms of all times. All of this stuff is going to be very similar, right? Obviously, that's why I don't say it. I get its opinion, but I don't really subscribe to, it's just opinion. No, a lot of this shit is, just be, if you understand the game with a trained eye, you're not going to be too far off. It's going to be like, it tells you what the truth is. So the truth is that. So some things are opinion required or whatever. So anyways, I digress. But I've set that up to basically say, people do say, okay, you're a Braun hater, or you're a Lowry hater, or you're a this player hater, or this player, and it's not, or you're a Pascal hater, right? It's not, it's just the overboosting. That's the common theme. That's the common theme in all of them. So if there's something that's common in all of them, how could I be a specific hater? It clearly shows you that I'm a capology hater. That's what I am. I'm allergic to capology. Just like Cat Williams said. He said he's allergic to bullshit. That's what I'm allergic to, right? So, you know what I mean? It's just, I'm allergic to all of that. So, it doesn't sit well in my stomach. So, at the end of the day, that's what I try to debunk. So, let's start. Obviously, people have been, that's been the ongoing theme throughout once Kyrie went down. Before it was even halftime. I'm getting mentions. And not just even me. I'm just seeing overall in media, KD, see, now he feels like, well, he knows what Braun feels like. Now he better carry. KD never carry. KD can't play, make this, that. And all these whatever they want to say, right? Call, LeBron, and they always want to bring up LeBron. It's like they're waiting for this moment because LeBron got eggs in the first round. You're obviously on not regular circumstances, but, he got exited in the first round. Now, obviously, it's funny that, yes, it is similar situation that KD now is in, and they've been praying and been waiting for it, and that's why now they've been silent, and then finally, here we go. Here comes the floodgates, and here comes the oh my God, they're just waiting. They've been itching for this moment. So, and it's sad that people are itching on the downfall. Like, do I itch for, LeBron to be in the situation where AD is injured? No, I even was saying with AD healthy, I thought the Suns was going to win because the Lakers can't shoot like that. I was saying the bubble shit was cap. I would never pray for anyone's injury. I'm not that. I'm an alpha male. So alpha male, you want everyone at their best, and you want to sun people, no pun intended, at their best. That's what you want. So it's unfortunate that injuries do happen, but why would I ever wish for an injury? I hate injuries. I wish everybody was healthy. If I could have one thing that I could have my cake and eat it too is if I could wish every man was never injured for the rest. If there's something you could click and be like, no man ever gets injured in the NBA. Once you enter the NBA, you never get injured for the rest of your days. That would be the perfect. Now you could just appreciate basketball, right? Like that's part of the sport. It doesn't work like that. So I do get it, but I don't wish it upon anyone. But you see Bron fans and a lot of, Bron sexuals and stuff like that have been wishing for this day for KD to be in the same light as LeBron in the same season. Now, LeBron didn't get out the first round. Now, KD's in the second round and it happened, and he didn't, if he might not get out, he might not, whatever. But that's what you see. I'm seeing an ongoing theme of they've been amped and been waiting for this moment. Now, a lot of people have been saying Bron has been carrying plethora of teams to the finals by himself. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I'm here to debunk stuff. I don't want to spend too much time on this because, again, this is an injury, and it's about the Nets versus Bucks. I don't want to bring up a next player into this, but I'm forced to because of other people who love players bring next players into it all the time, right? So they've been saying things that have been capped, and I talked about this on Twitter, so I'm going to briefly talk about this. Bron is great, right? We already know this. Bron is great, like I said, top 5. But the issue now is when people cap, people try to diminish and discredit and basically act like another player was hella disgrace, and they disrespect other players that Bron has played with to elevate Bron's legacy or Bron's individual play or stature or what he did as more difficult on the difficulty meter, because if you now say that he didn't play, this person was act like this person wasn't an all-star or this person was a cadaver, now obviously it makes what Bron did more elite and more elite and more great all-time tier, right? And what he does is always a great all-time tier, but now it goes into goldish level, and that's why I say overboost. They put it in goldish level basically because, who did he play with? Who was that guy? And they diminish. So what I mean by that, '07 is the only time you've ever seen Bron take a team without a current all-star on his team that year. We're not talking about previous all-star, because Ilgauskas was an all-star in 2003. He wasn't an all-star in 2007, right? Just same ways Blake Griffin is an all-star back then. He's not an all-star this year, right? So it's not like that person isn't a caliber player of being an all-star or whatever, but at that time he's not, right? And this is where it's funny how fans will now say, oh, but he has Blake, who was once an all-star. You can't tell me you have a Blake. But when LeBron had Darren Williams, who was once did you all act the same way? Darren Williams, same way, trying to resurge his career. Did you act the same way? No, you didn't. You can't, I hate when man's literally move the goalposts. If you have the same excuse built in that you do for this player, now when the other players, and don't now erase and act like it didn't happen. Act like you didn't say certain things to benefit this player, and then now with this player's in the same situation, you want to remove it because you want to focus on, oh, but he better. Come on now, stop capping. I'm not saying Blake is a Darren Williams, but you know what I'm saying? Like when he had Richard Jefferson, or when he had all these older guys who have been all-stars or have been elite caliber type of players. Even Ray Allen, Ray Allen wasn't that nice there, and he was even hella productive. Mike Miller too. There's so many guys who have been averaging 20 on their own and that he's had. Do you see, man, talk about them like they're that 20-point per game guy? No, they don't. So don't do that now for KD. You know what I'm saying? Just keep the same energy. Don't do I hate when man's move the goalposts like that. But anyways, like I was saying, right? In '07 was the first time LeBron, or the only time LeBron, which was hella difficult, has taken a team to the finals on the strength of one all-star superstar. No other all-star. That's the only time that happened. That's why everyone was shocked when he beat the Pistons. And how did he do it? Off ability and off frying and off carrying. And in Game 6, it was all Boobie Gibson that went to work, right? But that was the only time you've seen LeBron carry. And then he did get swept in the finals because, again, clearly there's a mismatch, right? Especially when he's facing the Spurs. But when you look at it from that perspective, that is an anomaly, and that's what makes Bron great, especially doing that at 22. But again, that was a different league. That wasn't bare big threes and whatever, like prime superstar big threes, or almost, some type of, you have an MVP with two all-stars in terms of Drew and Middleton. You still have big threes all over the place, even though there's levels to big threes. You know what I'm saying? It's not it's different. It's completely different. So when you look at it from that perspective, it doesn't take away from what Bron did. Bron did what he did, and it was hella elite. But that was the only time he did what he did. People are trying to make it seem like, yes, 2015, he had Kyrie and Love injured, but Kyrie got injured in the finals. In 2015, K-Love was injured in the first round. So his three all-stars, three all-star whatever, it's more similar to the Nets now, where Harden is injured, right? First game of second round. That's similar to Caleb injured in the first round. Now you have Kyrie and KD, similar to when you have Kyrie and LeBron James, and they went to the finals. And that's what the path the Nets were doing, which was similar to 2015 of LeBron, where one of your big threes injured, two of them, let's go. And it's funny how Kyrie is the common denominator in both, but that's what was happening. That was relevant to LeBron's 2015. Now, if KD got to the finals and then Kyrie now was injured, then KD in the finals alone single-handedly would be relevant to Bron in 2015. But LeBron, people try to discredit and try to act like Bron carried a team to the finals by himself. No, he hasn't. In when he's now an older veteran after the Heat. He did not do that in 2015. 2018 with the Cavs, he had Caleb, who was an all-star that year, who only didn't play in the all-star game due to injury. He was an all-star that same year. People discredit Caleb and make it seem like he's a waste man and always playing with cadavers because, yes, LeBron was carrying, and LeBron is in an offense that limits other people, so it's a heightened, it makes it look like LeBron's playing with bums because he didn't just have catch-and-shoot shooters around him other than Kyle Korver. All the other guys, and J.R. Smith turned himself into a catch-and-shoot shooter because you already know he was a six-man. He wasn't just a catch-and-shoot shooter. He was a shot creator. But he turned himself into that to play with LeBron and actually thrive. But other than, he was looking like, J.R. Smith was literally the epitome of what you saw Tim Hardaway look like. Tim Hardaway is not just a shooter, but he's a shot creator that can shoot well and is streaky. So he made himself and worked on his game to just work on catch and shoot, because he's like, okay, I don't want to just be like not useful. I want to still, I'm a scorer. So if I have to find a way to score, if I'm only getting shots off of catch and shoot, I'm gonna find a way to make myself be an elite catch and shoot guy now. And that's what you literally see. That same role or same type of transition is what you're seeing from Hardaway in the Luka offense. But it's the same Luka, Bron, I do everything offense. It's all me. You get it for catch and shoot. If not, don't work. Give it back to me. You know, I'm a dribble and whatever. And that's why other guys who aren't catch and shoot shooters do look different. KP is looking like K-Love. It's the same thing. Why are you never in the post? Why are you just shooting? Why are you just spotting up? Obviously, Love was a better version of it. But it's the same thing you're seeing, which is why KP is complaining. So when you look at it from that perspective, yes, Love looks like a waste man. And certain players, Jordan Clarkson looks like a scrub in that offense. But now you see them without that offense. We have evidence that they're not no scrub. So now, obviously, people they get blinded by LeBron doing everything in his offense, that they make it seem like he was playing with bums and he carried bums to the finals. No, he had an all-star with him. You can't erase that. That player is still somewhat game planned for. You know what I'm saying? Like, that guy had to do production. It's not like he was just a scrub. So 2018 is, again, another cap. He had an all-star with him. So that's just me debunking the narrative. I don't want to stay too much on that. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's cap. So what's relevant, again, the only thing that's relevant, KD right now having no all-star with him and all that type of stuff, no big three, is more similar to LeBron this year with the Lakers, which, again, he didn't go to the finals. He got exited in the first round. And similar to Bron in 07 as the 22-year-old. So that shows you 30. Anytime he's been 30 plus, there has never. I don't remember ever seeing one person play with no other all-star and make it to the finals, right? Which is why you're gonna see a lot of people say if Kyrie isn't there and Harden isn't there, no matter if it's KD, even if he gets 60, they believe that the Bucks will win this series if there's no Kyrie and no Harden healthy. I don't even need to see. I've recorded this before the modern shows came, right? But that's probably going to be the sentiment. So, and rightfully so, because at the end of the day, as much as one player is elite, it's a team game. You need a certain base level for that one player to carry. That's why I always say I don't erase team value. I don't erase the role players. I never have done that. But people overboost the role players and act like it's not because of that guy. Because if you remove that guy and you just have the role players, what's going to happen? And I promise you, you can remove that main guy and put him in another place with the same type of role players. What's going to happen? So the common denominator, it starts from the superstar, and then there's a hierarchy. And that's what I try to just give balance to, and to rate things accordingly, rate things properly, and just show the hierarchy of things in general. So again, this now all comes down to, before I end it, it comes down to now KD. KD's in Bron's shoes. And that's what I was saying as well with Bron with the Lakers. That's what's more relevant. Bron has to, and this is where I would say this about KD. I'm not biased, even though already know KD, I've been saying, is the best player. This is what I was saying with Bron. And this is why Bron fans with the Lakers did expect LeBron to drop 40 or have high 30s or like start to snap. Right? What I always say is the role players you already know. You know what's at hand. You know what the task is. I say this even about Kawhi, even with PG there. What I say is that guy has to be that guy. If you're that guy, you have to be that guy. This is the Jordan, the Kobe, Mamba mentality. What's required to win is me snapping. What's required to win is me snapping, because obviously I have lower tier role players or whatever the case is. Not even lower tier, it's just I have role players that can only do so much. What's required is me going to work, and they will eat off of me going to work. Their energy will change, momentum will change, everything will change off me being who I need to be. That's required. That's the requirement for this at hand. You saw that with Kobe versus the Suns. You know what I'm saying? In what was it? 07, 06 or 07, whatever, one of those years where he when he went up 3-1. What's required? I'm the only all-star, and you see even Kobe get out as being the only all-star. So we've seen the theme of this as the only lone all-star. We've seen how this normally ends, which is why, again, everyone's saying what they're saying. But again, I still need to see you snap, which is why I only had an issue with Braun in LA this year in the first round. Braun was supposed to snap, not just run to the paint and have these water points and not caring, not going to work. That's why people kept saying he needs to be like the 2018 Cavs, even though he still had an all-star with him, but the system was similar. Which is why there's a fine line, or there's a smoke and mirror out there. But that's what they expect. If you snap, I will never blame the main guy. If you go to work or you're trying to the death, even if it's not the most efficient night, like Kawhi in the 40, when he shot 40 shots versus Philly. You've seen Donovan Mitchell do this at times. You've seen KD also do this at times before with OKC, right? It's all you. Now, we know KD's the efficient guy, and they're going to load up. They're going to do things. So I don't expect his efficiency to be there. If he has elite efficiency while being double-teamed and all of this, that's even more different breed. But this is what I'm saying. KD needs to be that guy. I've seen Melo do this as well, too, even in New York versus the Pacers. You saw that in Game 6. Snapping, being that guy. If I go out guns blazing, if we're going to go out, it's on my terms. I'm going to be guns blazing. I'm going to be trying. I'm going to be going to work. Then I don't blame you. But if you don't do nothing or you're mediocre, I'm going to look at you first. And that's just me being honest. And don't matter if it's the best player in terms of KD. Don't matter if it's, if it's Harden. Don't matter if it's, LeBron. Don't matter who it is. Luka, don't matter who it is. You better go to work. That's why Luka, even though it's a more deeper conversation with Luka where it's like, okay, we need to really look at the offense. Isn't indicative for a championship or for winning. But no one's going to say Luka didn't go to work. That's why you see guys blaming the Brunsons, blaming the KP, blaming all these other guys, blaming the auxiliary guys, right? Because, again, Luka's still going to work regardless, even if it is in his own office, and he should be going to work, but he's still going to work. So there's going to be no blame on his hand. It's only if you understand the game and you're going to have a deeper conversation about, okay, let's look at the offense now. But other than that, you're not going to blame the guy that goes to work. So that's what I want from KD. That's what I do expect. I expect him to understand things have changed. And the only concern for me is that I've noticed something just because I watch KD, I pay attention to details, right? And I've noticed just the way KD was moving with the bounce, and even like plays of when he got fouled, when he had, who was it? Who did he have? Who was it? John Collins. Was it John Collins? No, John Collins or Jamichael. It was somebody. He had somebody. I forgot. No, it was damn, man. Oh, Rui. He had Rui on him. Rui from Wizards. When he did that, he was crossing him, killing him, and then he did the hezzy, and then Rui jumped, and then they called him on a grab before he went and punched it. Like the spring in his step. So when he first obviously tore his Achilles, and then he first came back, it took him like maybe couple games to now you start seeing the diddy bop. You start seeing the double cross move the same how he's moving. He'll hezzy, the going. He'll even in transition versus the Nuggets where he crossed Millsap and then went for the punch. Like the way he was moving, the athleticism and the bounce in his step and the explosiveness was elite. But then when he went and he got injured with the hamstring and he came back. When he came back from the hamstring, yes, he's still having the mobility. It's not like he's a shell of himself or nothing like that. But it's not the exact same, maybe like this. It's not the exact same athleticism that you saw before the hamstring. And you're probably going to see after the season that the hamstring probably was maybe 80%, maybe 75, maybe 85. It wasn't the same 100%, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, I do notice the explosion difference in terms of KD at the beginning of the year when he first was, no injury came. And then after injury, post-injury, how explosion changed, right? So I do notice there is a subtle difference. And it is not like hella pinch where it's not enough. It is enough. That's why you're seeing the physicality of PJ Tucker affect him even more. Because PJ Tucker has guarded him and tried to do the same physicality in Houston. It didn't affect him like this. You know what I'm saying? You're seeing more sloppy play, more of him on the floor. You're seeing more of this because the planting issue is I could see it is a little bit of a hindrance. This is why he just has to read and react, adjust the game, go to the post more, right? And just do turnover, shoot over babies, right? Like what he does when Drew's on him, he's going to have to do that on PJ. I know PJ is more physical, pushes him out of his spot, makes it tough for him on the catch. Just has to seal, hold, not get pushed out, and have that center of gravity and try to just work from there. Because or have to get and bring up the ball, and there's gonna be high pick and roll and pull in the gaps and whatever and play make and read off that. People who say KD can't play make is cap. You don't really watch KD, but I'm not even gonna address that because that's irrelevant, right? So you know what I mean. I still expect KD to be KD. I expect KD to be aggressive. I expect KD to try and put the team on his back. And I'm not going to absolve him of the same type of, the same type of energy. He has to put the team on his back. And especially if he's who he is, and I know he is who he is, he's going to do it. It's not a knock. It's not like he's not going to do it. It's whether now is it going to be successful? That's the next question because, again, it's one thing to do it. You've seen Dame do it. It's one thing to do it, but one thing to win. You've seen Jokic right now. He got swept trying to do it. It's one thing to do it, then it's one thing to win doing it. There's levels to that, and that's rare to you. And no matter who, from MJ, you've seen MJ snap all the time with 63 and lose to the Celtics, right? You've seen that. You've seen Kobe snap, lose to the Suns. You've seen all the greats when they're by themselves, solely by themselves, when all they're all-star. That's why what Bron did in 07 was so great, because rarely do you see anyone even like go to the conference finals off the strength of that. That's rare. You have to have at least one other all-star, one caliber player of that level. So, the only good thing is KD has already had 2 games under his belt, so he has to just get 2 more. But it is harder with the momentum that the Bucks have had and all that type of stuff. So we'll see how that does transpire. We'll see if it does, what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I think this will at least, if let's say Kyrie and Harden are out for both games, the next 3 games, I think KD could get you 2. And I think KD most definitely could get you 1, right? So, but there is another side of it where the Bucks have momentum and they can just win 4 straight because now the confidence has just gone to a next level. So the Bucks you saw isn't going to be the Bucks you saw. So they're going to be a better version because there's no, they have no worries now. So, even if KD ramps his level of playing goes to 60, he could still lose 2 straight games, right? Because we haven't seen the Nets with this scenario, right? Even all year, you've seen it, whatever, and they have been inconsistent all year. But even in regular season, is not the same. So, obviously, I know that a lot of people have been loving it, whatever. But I did my best to just debunk some of the cap narratives and talk about what really needs to be talked about and hold also. I'm holding the best player in the same shoes. He has to go to work, regardless of how anything pans out. Like I always preach, the main guy has to be the main guy. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, at least the main guy was the main guy, and you can never blame him for quitting. You can never blame him for not trying. You can never blame him for palms being sweaty. You can never blame him because that guy's going to get the bulk of the praise too when they win. So he has to get the blame also too if he doesn't go to work and they lose. If he goes to work, he's not going to get the blame because how much can one player do? Like I said, you've seen that with Jokic. You've seen that with a plethora of players in this same offseason with Bron as well too. But Bron didn't go to work with that echelon. That's why I held him accountable. But again, you've seen it with Jordy, Luka. You've seen it with Jokic. You've seen it with Dame. You've seen it, obviously with other players too. You've seen it with Tatum, right? You've seen it with a lot of players, right? How much can that one guy do even if he snaps? So I expect KD to at least at worst get you 1 game. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes, man. I can't make a synopsis or make a conclusion on the series anymore. The series can change just like that in 1 game. Anything can change the series, right? Injury, anything can change the series. It always works like that. But I'm going to go a game-by-game basis now for the rest of the way. So I think now going home, the shooters are going to have to step up. Joe Harris is going to have to hit shots. Sham is going to have to hit shots. Shooters are going to be real different type of shooters. They're going to now have to really show their Klay Thompson ability because KD's going to get doubled. He's going to get tripled. He's going to get trapped. Blake Griffin's going to have to hit shots. Jeff Green's going to have one of those great games. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they even play DeAndre. I don't know. They're going to have to get some effort from a lot of guys. I wouldn't be surprised if Shamet actually is in the starting lineup and they go Shamet, Harris, KD, Jeff Green, Blake. Or maybe they do Mike James, right? Mike James also is going to have to step up. He's going to have to go into that Euro real killing bag, right? So we'll see how it goes, man. We'll see how it goes anyways. We'll see how it goes, man. We'll see. Game 5 is on Tuesday, so I expect I'll be surprised if Kyrie or James actually play. So we'll see how it pans out, and I expect KD to be KD, at least try to the death. So we'll see if he's capable. And I know he is.